Welcome to Ava Aware. Today we're going to cover counting. The Counts tool allows us to see the real-time or historical number of people or vehicles that have entered a certain location or are present on screen within a certain location. These two different types are represented as objects in view and line crossing. Line crossing is a line cross that is created typically in a doorway, in a parking lot, or a main point of entry so that you can count the total number of objects entering or leaving within a region. So let's start with objects in view. If I click the plus in the top right, I have the ability to name my objects in view. We're going to call this Ava Objects 1. I can choose whether I'm looking for people, vehicles, or both. And then I can choose which cameras I want to be part of these objects. So this can be a combination of different regions depending on what you are trying to keep a live count of. So this can be things like parking lots, if I want to see specific points in a parking lot. This can be offices, if I want to see how many people are present within my office. But the important thing is that you can choose any of these cameras and then choose if there's a specific region of these cameras that is applicable. So for example, if I click area of interest, in parking 3, I may only be interested in the cars that are on screen to the back area of this parking lot. And so I can choose exactly which region I'm counting. I can add multiple different regions here. And then I can click into another camera which is actually showing a different angle of that same parking lot, and choose that I only want to count this region. And this is very vital for any cameras that are overlapping so that you don't have duplicate counts or incorrect numbers. I can then click done, and what happens is I create this new count and we'll see on screen how many people and vehicles are represented in these 5 cameras that we just added. And so I can click to see specifically what we're counting. We can see the 5 vehicles in the first one, regardless of the other vehicles that may be moving and present in the parking lots in the background. And we can see this represented across all of these different regions. And so with this information, I have the ability to, of course, edit if I have any areas that need to be adjusted, but also download this count data in a CSV format. And this is useful for sending to a marketing team or just getting the raw data that can be acted upon for things like occupancy or the concentration of users. The second type of line crossing that we can create, count that we can create is line crossing. So if we click to plus here, we can call this Ava Line Cross 1. And what we're going to do is, again, choose the type of object that we want to count. And when this line cross needs to reset, this can be useful for counting things like the daily occupancy. If you want this to reset every day at something like 6 a.m., you can edit that time frame right here. You can also reset weekly or whenever is applicable to you. And then you can do the same thing we did in the previous step. The difference here is that I have the ability to create these line crossings. So in an environment like this where I just want to see when the objects cross this boundary, we can choose what we want to count as an in and as an out. And so the idea here is that any object that moves in the direction of the in is entering a location, and any object moving in the direction of an out is exiting that location. So for a building that has multiple exits, you can have multiple line cross counts, but we can also ignore if there is a location that is only used for entering and not for exiting, and this helps with personnel that may be watching an exit and moving in and out of that door frame, for vehicles that may be backing up and moving in repeatedly. But you can combine these locations across multiple environments in order to make sure that you can count accurately whatever is appropriate for your environment. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add one more that will probably get us a little more traffic. In this case, this is the threshold of a door, and so we want to count the entering as in, and we're going to click done. And so what happens here is that we will start with a net 0 for our count because no objects have moved in or out of our counting based on these 3 cameras. But as different people or vehicles move in and out of these locations, you'll see this count increase. And so we actually just saw it decrease because there are people moving very close to the line, and we decreased by 1 and then we increased by 1, and giving us a total count of 0. And that's how counting works, in order to give you this live representation which can be displayed on a map or in this count view.